In this lesson, we're going to be creating a GitHub account. We'll follow that up by creating a repository. We'll then add to our local environment the command line interface for Git. We'll generate some keys, and we'll use those keys to add them back into the online GitHub account in order for us to get access from our local environment. We'll then clone the repository we created to our local machine. We'll add a file, and ultimately, to close it all off, we will commit push those changes back into the GitHub repository. So we're going to go full cycle. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll go ahead and navigate to github.com. I'm going to go ahead and choose a username here. I'll go with Able Userman. I'll set an email of able_user@hotmail.com, and I'll select a secret password. Let's go ahead and click now on sign up. We'll go ahead and go with the free plan. We can go ahead and skip the screen. And as you can see there, you can go ahead and start a project. Let's go ahead and click on that. And it's asking me to verify my email address. When you go to your account, if you can't find it, look for it under junk email, like in my case. I'm going to go ahead and verify that email address. And as you can see there, we're back in GitHub. So it is asking me here for a repository name. I'll go ahead and call it Kali. I'll enter a description here. Just call it dummy repo. I'll go ahead and leave it as public. I will initialize it with a README. That way we can go ahead and clone it as soon as we're done. I'll go ahead and add a Git Ignore file. For our case, since we'll be mostly writing JavaScript files, I'll go ahead and use the node Git Ignore. This is simply done to ignore files that would not be copied over by your entire team. This simply ignores some of the files that fit that pattern within Node. I'm then going to add a license. If you're not familiar with open source licenses, the MIT license is the most permissive. That means there are no restrictions, commercial or otherwise. So I'm going to go ahead and create it now. And as you can see there, we have a repository. So we're ready to go when it comes to having something on GitHub that we can clone to our local environment. Now the next step is we're going to set up our local environment that is within the machine. To do that, we're going to go ahead and navigate to git-scm.com downloads. As you can see there, it's one of the ones that the pull down suggestions is showing. And from here, we're simply going to select the Windows version. As you can see there, that content or that installer is already downloading. There we go. The file has downloaded. Let's go ahead and execute it. I'm going to go ahead and select additional icons in this case. I'm going to go ahead and go with the defaults. Now let's go ahead and launch the Git bash. Let's go ahead and make that window bigger. Okay, now we have a nice window. Let's go ahead and add the username for the GitHub, for the Git environment, local Git environment. So we're going to enter git config global username, and in this case my username is able user man. Let's go ahead and hit return. We'll next enter my email, and in this case it will be able_user@hotmail.com. We'll next create a key that will generate locally, and then we will copy over to the GitHub environment, and we do that by entering SSH key gen. We'll go ahead and enter, we'll go with the defaults again. We will not set a passphrase, and as you can see there, that key has been created. Next, we'll inspect that key at the command line. Let's go ahead and copy that key. Now that we have the key in our clipboard, let's go ahead and go back to our account, and let's go ahead and choose the repository. Well, actually we don't need to do that. We can simply select the account, pull down there the profile, and let's go ahead and go to SSH keys, and we'll go ahead and add a new SSH key. We'll call this Windows Client VM. That's what this is. I'm going to go ahead and paste here the nope. Let me go ahead and paste the key, and I'm going to go ahead and add it. Now let's go ahead and go back to the bash. Let's go ahead and clear the screen. Let's go ahead and create a development directory and call it dev. CD into that. So as you can see there, that's what the path is now. I've gone ahead and cleared the screen. Now we're going to go ahead and clone that repository. We do that by entering git clone, and we're going to get the address from our repository. Let me go ahead and navigate to that now. So it's going to be able userman, and I'm going to click on the name of the repository, then on clone or download, and we're going to use the git address. We're going to copy that to our clipboard. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure I'm in the right spot and paste that here, and I'm going to go ahead and hit return. If all goes well, we should pull down those files. Let's go ahead and look at the directory structure, and yes, we see Kali there now. Let's go ahead and enter into it, and you can see there that we have the files from the repository. If we enter ls with the -a option, we can see there that we have the .git ignore as well. So now the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to add a file to that repository. Let's go ahead and open our file system, and you can see there I am already inside of the path. I'm going to go ahead and select Kali, and I will simply add a new file. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll call it hello. We'll go ahead and open it, and I think I used the wrong key. There we go. Let's go ahead and say hello world. We'll go ahead and close it, save it, and now we've added a file to our repository. If we enter git status, it'll say that we have a new file that has not been added. We can now go ahead and add that. We'll say add. If you do dot, you simply add all of the files in your directory. I'm simply going to enter hello, in this case text. Now if we do git status, you'll see that there is a new file now that has been added. The next thing we'll do is we'll enter a git commit with the -m option. We need to provide some feedback, and in this case I'll say simply added hello.txt, hit return, and now we're ready to push to the directory. We'll go ahead and enter git push, and this is the point in where if we added our keys correctly and everything has been done correctly, we will be able to see the commit. Let's go ahead and enter return. And yes, you can see there that the push was successful. Let's go ahead and go over to our repository. Let's go ahead and reload the page. If all went well, we should be able to see our hello. Now if we click on it, we should be able to see what we wrote. And so if we review, upon review, what we did, we created a GitHub account, we then created a repository, we then installed the Git CLI, the command line interface, we generated some keys, we added that key that we generated, the public key, to the GitHub repository, well, not just to the repository, but to the account. We then cloned a repository to our local machine, we added a file, and as a last step, we committed and pushed those changes to the repository. Go ahead and practice this a little bit. Go through the cycle a couple times, especially that of creating a repository, cloning it to your local environment, adding a file or two, and then committing, pushing those changes. So with that, that's it. This is the end.